Welcome to Couch Quarterbacks. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Couch Quarterbacks podcast. I'm Andrew Rochford. With me, as always, is Ben Steinberg. Ben, say hello to the people.
I'm feeling good today, Roach. Just had some smelling salts. We're happy.
Get
we're
us
excited.
a little amped up, a nice little energy boost before this show.
A little bit of adrenaline, I should say.
We're already into week 4, Stein. I thought that was crazy to think about.
And last year, this would have been a quarter through the season. This
Yeah,
year, we're like
extra game. Now
do
we
the
got
math.
the weird
What fraction is that?
4/17 of the regular season.
Can you reduce that?
I don't think you can, but
yeah, it's been a minute since I've been on school.
yeah. But anyways, guys, welcome once again to the Couch Quarterbacks podcast, our week 4 preview episode. We'll start off this show like we always do, recapping Thursday Night Football. Then we'll hop into our punishment. Stein was our week 3 loser, so we'll spin the wheel, see what punishment he ends up getting, and then we'll hop into the week 4 slate, covering all the games on Sunday and then also the Monday night game. I'll try and keep my phone at the ready in case we have any sort of injuries or something
every
to talk.
Every time we've been recording, especially on Fridays, we always get news about injuries right after.
I feel like every time I'm putting as like the first line in the description for our video where it's like, we recorded this before whoever was announced out or whatever it may be. So if there's anything that comes up, I have my sleeper notifications on where I can get that information. But for right now, we've got everything as up to date as possible. Yep. But Stein, let's hop into that Thursday night game. And this pretty much sums up what Thursday Night Football is all about. I mean, you got the Jaguars and the Bengals playing in this game, and in terms of headlines, besides it being a game-winning field goal as time expired, there wasn't that much to talk about from this game.
Well, I mean, the leading up to the game, these are two teams that are going in almost different directions, you could say, and really, you got to look at the quarterbacks. You have the Jags with this year's first round pick.
I was going to say the past two number one overall picks.
Going against last year's first overall pick. So, and two guys who played each other in college in the national championship game. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they had different talents around them.
Both guys had a lot better.
with Trevor, that's more noticeable. But because Joe has his boy Jamar with him, so that works out perfectly. But Bengals were able to barely escape. It was actually looking for the first half like a whole Jaguars kind of situation.
Yeah, so the only time the Bengals actually led in the game was from that game-winning field goal. Evan McPherson, his second game-winning field goal of the season. This one was from 35 yards.
This was a chip shot.
Pretty much an extra point, but the Jaguars led 14-0 at halftime, Stein, and it could have been even more. I think the big turning point in this ball game was a 4th and 1 from the 1-yard line. Just the play calling on this, I thought, was absolutely horrendous. So they're in the shotgun on the 4th and 1 from the 1, and then they kind of fake an inside handoff to James Robinson, and then kind of go speed option look to the outside, and Lawrence gets stuffed at the 1-yard line for a turnover on down. So they don't get any points right before halftime. It could have been just almost the nail in the coffin for the Bengals in this ball game
too, just to help out. Trevor was better, though. You really got to say that.
No turnovers. So.
Yeah, I mean, that is better. 17 for 24 passing, so it wasn't super effective passing-wise. And did have a rush touchdown, kind of like his vintage Clemson rushing touchdowns where he's basically untouched as he kind of goes into the end zone.
Yeah, he was decent as a rusher. James Robinson had a great game on the ground. He had 2 touchdowns rushing 78 yards. So a decent rushing attack for the Jaguars, but a big loss on the offensive side from one of their receivers, DJ Chark. On that first drive, apparently fractured his ankle, was carted off the field, and he's probably, they said out indefinitely, but is probably going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah, this could be a while. I mean, we talk about Achilles stuff, and, with the ankle, a fractured ankle right now, I mean, that's just not looking good. That's a lot of muscles and a lot of bones around there that can really be trouble, especially for a guy in that position.
Laviska Shenault ended up
stepping
step
up in a nice position.
Yeah, 6 catches for 99 yards, so he led their receiving core, but definitely later on down the road, that's going to be a huge loss for Trevor and on that offensive side of the football.
Yeah, Joe was really good after a disappointing performance last week. 24 of 32, 348, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kind of looked like just vintage Joe from college, really. Mixon was good, but did kind of get a little shooken up at the end of the game.
Yeah,
Wasn't out there for the final drive, I'm pretty sure, for the most of the drive.
He missed most of that final drive of the ball game. They said it was probably a lower leg injury. He said he was kind of limping around on the sideline a little bit. So definitely monitor that as a Mixon owner going into next week's game. Does have a couple extra days.
They showed him stretching out his leg. But receiving-wise, I think this is really where the Bengals kind of stood out, especially with the departure of T. Higgins being injured. Jamar Chase wasn't as spectacular.
Didn't have a touchdown in this one.
Yeah, he wasn't as spectacular as he has been. But, I mean, that's kind of expected. But really, Tyler Boyd with 9 for 118.
Yeah,
and then my favorite, C.J. Uzomah with 5 for 95, but 2 touchdowns, and also kind of the game-winning, I guess, first down, for a third down conversion.
On like that little bubble screen where it set them up for the game-winning field goal. So a big game for him, kind of surprising on that regard. But Tyler Boyd just gobbling up catches from the slot position. Jamar Chase, like you said, still had a decent game, just really didn't have the touchdown on his stat line.
Yeah, and didn't have that signature deep pass, where he scores on a touchdown.
But overall, still a great game for Burrow, just passing the football over 300 yards, and then just great to the receivers.
Bottom line from this game, I know we didn't write one down, but it's like the Bengals could be a lot better than they have been, now, and maybe we were too quick to judge them not getting Sewell over, getting Chase over Sewell.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to see how they'll play against some of the better teams in this division.
Yeah, they still have to face the Ravens.
I would say they haven't faced the Ravens or Browns yet.
Yeah, and Steelers again. So, and I'm sure they have some other tough matches, but they've looked pretty good so far, and you could definitely make the argument they're a lot better than they were last year.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially the year before.
I was going to say, definitely a much better start to this season. Then once they get T. Higgins back, I mean, we talked about how they've got such dangerous weapons on offense. It's really about the offensive line. Burrow was only sacked 1 time. Yeah. So once in the last 2 games after being sacked 10 times, I think, in the first 2 games.
Yeah, he's definitely up there.
Yeah, definitely the offensive line stepping up. But the Bengals moved to 3-1 on the season. Jaguars fall to 0-4, still looking for their first victory.
Yeah, it is getting a little bit uncomfortable in Jacksonville.
Definitely.
But we will monitor that situation.
Urban Meyer is definitely listening to phone calls. So
yeah, they're not reporting on it, but there's definitely some emails being sent right now.
But anyways, let's move on to our punishment portion of the show. So Stein, I flipped the script on you. I went 12-4 last week. You go 10-6, still have a great record.
That's wild card potential right
there. So
there.
32-16 for me overall, 33-16 if you count the win last night, which we both picked the Bengals in the ball game.
Yeah.
You moved to 31-18 with the Bengals winning last night overall in the season. So still 2 great records, but Stein, you are a week 3 loser. You want me to just rip off the Band-Aid and we'll spin the wheel?
Yeah, let's go ahead and see what we got.
Hold on, let me make sure we're screen recording and we're good. So let's spin the good old wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Ooh, a 5-star
on the back.
That's gonna be a nice little imprint. Let me start to warm up the hands here for you.
And we're gonna plug that in right now.
All right, so we got our week 3 loser, Stein. 5-star. You ready for this?
I'll do whatever.
All right, here we go. Hope you guys enjoyed that 5-star. I know Stein really enjoyed that 5-star there, huh, Stein?
Yeah, that's not a bad one. That's something that we could have done easy, we didn't have to get any material.
Yeah.
And I was really happy we didn't have to do the jelly bean one because after we recorded on Monday night, we both tried the jelly beans, the spicy jelly beans. Mm-hmm. We got new Bean Boozled flavored.
Yeah, if you've had the disgusting ones, they have spicy ones now.
It goes from, I think, the lowest is Sriracha all the way up to Carolina Reaper. And I had the second lowest, which was
we had the jalapeno one.
Which was still freaking awful.
I don't think, you're not good with spicy food, are you?
I mean, I like buffalo stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably the hottest I'll go. Maybe
I'm the same way, but yeah, that jalapeno one probably had a nice burn to your tongue for about 5-10 minutes.
That got me for a while. I thought I might have needed some milk or something. He needs some milk.
But yeah, I think when we'll do that one, we'll probably just have you randomly pick one and just hope for the best that
you don't want me to do a handful? I'm just kidding.
That's whoever does
funny it. Story real quickly. Y'all know the original Bean Boozled, right? The game. Well,
yeah, they're gonna answer answer to you right now.
Yeah, of course. My dad actually, I left out a box of them. My dad thought they were regular jelly beans, and he's just grabbing like handfuls of them and like eating them.
Did he notice that they were like?
He's like, these jelly beans are bad.
Probably thought that they were expired or something like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing that he didn't realize and pick up on the bad jelly beans. But
let's get into week 4, guys. Let's stop talking about my punishment. I'm already in enough pain.
Yeah. So going into this week, I counted up. 4 is our magic number, Stein, in week 4. We got 4 games different once again,
wow.
So still have the potential to end in a tie.
Yeah, I want to see this tie. I want the coin flip.
This is going to come down to the Monday night game, so we won't know who the winner is until after we film our Monday night show, because we always film that during the Monday night football game. We usually finish up around like halftime, start of the second half.
Yeah,
so
unless one of us just blows the other one away.
Yeah, exactly. Unless one person goes 3-0 in the first 3 games. But anyways, let's hop into our week 4 slate. We'll start off with the Falcons facing off against the Washington football team.
I will be going to this game.
Hey, there we go.
I will be attending this game, the first Falcons game that's not preseason, that will be regular season, I guess, in like 2 years that I've gone to.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to it. I think this is a pretty evenly matched game. I do give the edge to the Washington football team, and I know they are favored by 1.5 right now.
They're coming off of a 43-21 loss to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Obviously losing Ryan Fitzpatrick, got Taylor Heineke at quarterback. Defense has not been the same Washington football defense from last season, so definitely coming in hobbling a little bit.
Yeah, and we thought they would be a little bit tougher of a team overall, especially with that vaunted defense. And we talked about last show that this defense really just has been disappointing. Mm-hmm. And you think that this could be a potential get-right game for the defense?
Definitely. I mean, facing this Falcons offense where you've seen Matt Ryan kind of regress a little bit. Kyle Pitts hasn't had a big game yet. Calvin Ridley has been decent and consistent, but he hasn't had a breakout Calvin Ridley type game that we expected from them. And then
the run game is Cordero Patterson and whatever Mike Davis is.
I keep telling people that I feel like Cordero Patterson should not be on a football team.
I mean, the guy's gonna have like 80 yards and is gonna be a touchdown, and people are gonna be like, all right, did we get him? And then he's just gonna fall off.
So definitely a chance for the Washington football team to have their get right game, but both teams 1-2 on the season. Both teams have a mutual win against the New York Giants. So.
Yeah, and both teams were field goal wins against the Giants as well. Don't forget about that.
The Washington football team honestly should have lost that Thursday night game to the Giants a couple weeks ago, but the Falcons getting their game-winning field goal last week. So look at some injuries for this game. Antonio Gibson battling a little bit of a shin injury. Saw that he practiced today, so he should be good to go for Sunday.
Curtis Samuel, their other receiver, is going to be on the IR, so he's definitely not going to be in.
No, so he's designated off the IR.
Oh, designated off the IR. Sorry.
He had been on the IR the first couple weeks, but Ron Rivera actually said that he's probably going to be out there and play on Sunday for his first game of the season and his debut for the Washington football team.
That will make the Falcons' cornerback situation that much tougher.
Definitely. AJ Terrell coming back from his concussion, I think he should play on Sunday.
Yeah, TJ Green was like the guy they filled in, which he got a little exposed, but he wasn't awful. I'll say that. He wasn't like... I mean, Isaiah Oliver's been playing better, too. You got to admit that.
Yeah, definitely better than a lot of people expected.
Yeah.
And then on the offensive side, Russell Gage still battling his ankle injury. He's probably going to miss another week this upcoming week.
Foye and Lee Smith.
so more Olamide, Zacchaeus, Lee Smith, if you want to say that. But
Foye, yeah, he's on defense. So many of these big names for the Falcons.
But anyways,
and I mean big names, not like big names. You know what I mean?
Anyways, looking into the fantasy outlook, Washington football team. I think Heineke is worthy of a super flex or maybe like DFS just facing this Falcons defense.
Heineke's been interesting. He's kind of like, I would equate him to a little bit of Gardner Minshew of last year. I get kind of those vibes from him.
Yeah, definitely got a little bit of a rushing ability to him as well. So but facing this Falcons defense, I think he's at least worthy of getting a look. He's going to have a decent fantasy day probably.
For me, because I forgot to start Trevor Lawrence last night, and I still have Daniel Jones in my starting spots.
Man,
yeah.
I don't know if you want to do that.
I don't know. I don't even know what's going on with me.
So Heineke is definitely worthy of a look. I don't know if I'd start him in a 1 QB league, but definitely Superflex, DFS if you're playing DraftKings or FanDuel.
Weapons wise, you got to go with all the main characters of Antonio Gibson, Terry, and Logan Thomas probably too as a pass catcher. Mm-hmm. Samuel, probably stay away from him because
just in his first game quarterback.
You don't know what he's going to be doing.
New team as well.
Yeah.
And I would sit J.D. McKissick. I feel like he's more valuable in games where the Washington football team could be trailing. Honestly, I think they should be up for most of the ball game, so you'll probably see a lot of Antonio Gibson. So I would sit J.D. McKissick if I was an owner of him, and then I'd probably start Washington football team's defense, even with being bad these first couple weeks of the season. Playing against the Falcons and that offense, definitely startable.
And you got to look at this. It's going to be the offensive line for the Falcons that's probably going to have the most trouble with this Washington defensive line, and that's why you want to sit Matt Ryan, just because he's probably going to be under pressure all day.
Yeah, really the only benefit of starting Ryan would be if he gets some garbage time fantasy points, but just with how he's looked these first 3 games, I don't think he's worthy of a start. Cordero Patterson, Mike Davis, I think they're both worthy of a flex consideration. Patterson has actually been outperforming Davis, just especially pass catching the football recently, and he's the one that's been getting the touchdowns.
Where Davis has been more the power back too.
Yeah, definitely. But I think they're both worthy of a flex, and then you're gonna start Calvin Ridley, start Kyle Pitts.
You gotta still keep those guys going. They're gonna pick it up. I think they're just trying to settle into their own as we go along.
Yeah, definitely. And then in this ball game, Stein, it looks like we both got the Washington football team winning.
Yeah, I'm doing my classic pick against the Falcons, so I come out on top both times.
It worked last week. You picked the Giants, and the Falcons end up winning the ball game.
I'm doing my classic.
So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Isn't that how the saying
Exactly.
goes?
All right, going on to a game where I think the line is too small than it should be.
I don't know. I mean, there are some injuries on the Titans side of the football, as we've got the
the Jets are home.
We got the 2-1 Titans, 6.5-point favorite against the winless Jets. But yes, the big story for the Titans is that they are banged up at the wide receiver position. A.J. Brown and Julio both battling hamstring injuries. A.J. Brown is week to week, so he's like a 5% chance of playing in this ball game. Julio missed some of the second half of the last game.
But Julio is the better chance to go, right?
He's got a better chance of playing, but I think it's going to honestly come down to about a game-time decision for Julio.
Yeah.
So the potential wide receiver core could be Nick Westbrook,
Ikehine.
Yeah, however you pronounce the second part of that last name. Who
Josh
was their leading
Reynolds,
receiver last week. Josh Reynolds and Chester Rogers.
The classic Packer. It's going to be an interesting, patchwork wide receiver core if Julio doesn't go. I mean, even with Julio going, still having those guys helping out. And the lack of a really defined tight end one for them.
Yeah, but I still think that the best part about this is, one, they get to play the Jets while they're banged up, and then two, you still have Derrick Henry running the football.
I was going to say, there's one part of the offense we don't have to really mention because we know it's going to be 30 rush attempts for this guy this game.
Definitely.
We're going to see 30 rush attempts for 130 yards around there,
a couple touchdowns as well.
1 or 2 touchdowns, going to be a great start. Tannehill's also kind of a runner too. We've seen that before, especially in the red zone. So that's going to be kind of their bread and butter.
I would say if both wide receivers aren't able to start, then maybe see a little more read option type play. See Tannehill use his legs. He had his career high 56 rush yards last week.
But don't discount Robert Saleh in that Jets, as game planning for this, especially with the receiving core out, because they could be stacking the box against this Titans team.
Yeah, just probably the biggest problem for the Jets defense is that they've had so many injuries, and the most recent one, probably their best player on defense, the safety Marcus May, ankle injury. They're saying sidelined 3 to 4 weeks. So we've seen them lose a couple of guys before the season even started, and now a big loss to their secondary. So definitely going to be an uphill battle for that defense against the Titans offense. On the Jets' offensive side of the football, looks like they're going to get back their best receiver from last season, and Jamison Crowder probably going to return from his groin injury, but then they also lose their rookie Elijah Moore to a concussion. Saleh said that he is
Tevin
going to be out this ball game.
It's going to be interesting.
It'll be Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, and Michael Carter. So this Jets offense has been just absolutely horrendous this season. We talked about in the recap, they've got 20 points.
And I don't even expect Wilson to have as many interceptions as he had, because this Titans defense is not that good.
Isn't that good.
But it's still going to be that kind of situation where they're just going to be getting him third and longs and fourth downs, and they're just going to be punting it away. If you have the Jets punter in any kind of thing,
if you play in a punter league. But I think it's going to be a lot of Derrick Henry just all day for this Titans team.
And they're going to control the clock.
Yeah, they should be up early, up often, and even if they don't have those wide receivers going, I think they should be able to take this one.
Yeah.
Fantasy-wise, we're going to start Tannehill, start Derrick Henry. Stream the Titans defense just because they're playing the Jets offense.
Yeah.
And then that Nick Westbrook Ikeen, I think is definitely.
We're gonna figure out his name this weekend. You know,
I think he's worthy of a flex play if you don't have those two starting wide receivers.
Is he though? If you don't know his name,
just because he was leading the team in receiving last week when both of those guys went down, so he'll be the number one guy there. Yeah. Don't expect too much, but just hope for a touchdown.
And then Jets wise, pretty much stay away from any guys. The best guy maybe is Corey Davis. Because, Corey Davis can be boom or bust.
But the biggest thing is if Jamison Crowder plays, which I have him sitting, or I would sit him just because you don't know how he's going to do with the new quarterback. But he could eat up a lot of targets, a lot of receptions from that slot position. So even Corey Davis is definitely a risky play.
Yeah. So we both have the Titans. I'm pretty sure everyone kind of figured that. Moving on to a game with a ridiculous line.
I've never seen an NFL line this big.
This is what I like. This is ridiculously big. Texans travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills at a minus 17.
Yeah, 17-point favorite for the Bills against the Texans team that actually has a win this season. Yeah. But the Bills
against the Jags.
Yeah, true. The Bills, after their Week 1 loss to the Steelers, have played amazing these past 2 weeks. The offense has really been clicking. Josh Allen had a great game last week against the Washington football team. I think the biggest question in this game is not going to be if the Bills will win, but by how much will they win?
Yeah.
Coming off of, 35 and 22-point victories, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the injury situation right now for the Texans. Is Davis Mills going to be the starter?
Yeah, he's going to be starting again.
Yeah, that doesn't help them at all because, I mean, at least Taylor gives them more of an offense than they had. So the way that the Bills have just been pouncing on their last two opponents just goes to show that, I think they're going to be pouncing on these guys pretty good.
Yeah, and it's two teams that are going in complete opposite directions from Week 1. You saw the Texans getting that win against the Jaguars. You saw the Bills losing that Week 1 game against the Steelers. And then since then, 2 losses for the Texans, 2 big wins for the Bills.
And Josh Allen's looked like an MVP. And even their run game is developing, too, nicely with Singletary and Moss both kind of...
Yeah, Zach Moss has had 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games. Devin Singletary had a nice touchdown run 2 weeks ago, so... Yeah. Their offense is definitely clicking on all cylinders, which brings us into the fantasy outlook. You're going to want to start a lot of those guys. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Bills defense. I think you can give flex consideration to both running backs, Singletary and Moss.
Cole Beasley we had a lot of targets last week.
Yeah, he had 12 catches. Emmanuel Sanders was 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, one of the best receivers last week.
And then Dawson Knox has had a touchdown the past 2 weeks, so definitely at the tight end position, I think he's worthy of a stream.
You're basically throwing a dart for this whole Bills offense, because one of those guys is going to have a day.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just a matter of which one it's going to be. On the Texans side, it's just going to be Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, the guy's getting 10 targets, 10 receptions a game almost.
He's shown that he's pretty much quarterback-proof, having a great game on Thursday Night Football last week against the Panthers. And really, he should be the only Texans player owned in leagues. I don't think
own any of those
Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, David Johnson don't own any of those guys. You're not going to own Davis Mills. No other receiver or tight end is worthy of consideration. So Brandon Cooks should be the only guy, and I think he's still worthy of a start in this matchup.
From 2 games that could easily, because we're both taking the Bills. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's move on. We don't even have to explain.
Yeah, I feel like that could have gone without being mentioned.
From 2 games that are going to be lopsided to a game where 2 teams kind of both come limping in.
Yeah, and that's the winless Lions against the 1-2 Bears, coming off of their worst offensive performance in 30 years.
One of the best cases of ineptitude I've ever seen.
Yeah, so of course the Bears, the quarterback situation, Matt Nagy, everyone knows all the headlines going on with that. Justin Fields has been a full participant in practice this week. Andy Dalton still hasn't really been practicing. I think he was a limited participant for most of the week. Nagy's still saying that he's the starter when he's healthy. I would expect Justin Fields on Sunday. I don't think Dalton's going to be active. They'll probably one more week of him being inactive, and then he'll probably be back as a starter next week. But the Bears got to figure out their offensive line, because the 9 sacks to Fields last week, I mean, the Lions' defensive front isn't anything special, but still, you got to give Fields time to throw the ball.
Yeah, definitely. And, everyone has a very sour taste in their mouth from last week for the Bears. And, to be honest, I don't even know why I picked the Bears. I think I just picked them because, the Lions have been playing, even though they're 0-3, have played all
They've
their
played
teams.
decent games. Like, we talked about how they've had, like, a great half or a great quarter in every single game that they played this season.
Yeah. But the Bears did have that one amazing defensive performance against the Bengals. So, we could see that happen, and that's what I'm kind of predicting.
Bears are at home in this matchup, too.
Yeah. I think there's going to be definitely a lot of boo birds coming out.
Oh, 100%. Matt Nagy.
The Bears. And it's going to be interesting because this could be the game that kind of, seals his fate.
If you want to call it the tipping point, which honestly could have been a tipping point just from naming Andy Dalton as the starter week 1.
I'm definitely talking myself out of the Bears right now, but
it's too late. I already see that you picked the Bears.
It's already set in stone.
It's already been established.
I know. What I like to do is when I make these picks, I don't look at your pick. I look at I scroll up and hide it.
Which I appreciate.
And I just kind of look at base it off mine, because I could easily just be oh, I'm going to go opposite of Roach. But,
yeah, well, obviously, since you're talking about that, I picked the Lions in this one just because the Bears coming off that very weak performance. The Lions having a couple of good games, even though they've lost all 3 of these matchups.
Yeah.
There's always a couple of matchups where 1 or 2 upsets every single week. I think this is going to be one of them.
Not really even an upset, almost.
The Bears 3-point favorite.
But
so
not on paper.
It wouldn't be a crazy upset like the Texans beating the Bills per se.
I guess my rationale is that the Bears can't have as bad of an offensive performance 2 weeks in a row.
It can't get worse, can it?
Yeah, it can only get better than that. So I'm hoping that they can, at least Justin Fields can get something going, because I want to see him succeed, and I think that it's not his fault, especially last week, that he wasn't succeeding. I think it's just the play calling and the...
I was just saying, and kind of getting back to the Washington football team defense, how bad they've been. And playing the Falcons offense, having it as a get-right game. This is definitely a matchup that has potential for a get-right game for this Bears offense and Justin Fields playing against a Lions defense.
But we're not going to discount this Lions team at all.
Like I said, they played some great football. Dan Campbell looks like could be a nice fit for this Lions team. But anyways, going into the fantasy outlook, so for the Lions, you're going to start DeAndre Swift, who Campbell said they're going to probably feature a lot more of. He's been great so far these first couple weeks.
As well.
TJ Hawkinson, even though he posted the dud last week, he's still going to be a top 5 tight end option this upcoming week.
Get right for him.
And then Jamal Williams, I think, has some deep flex appeal just because he's more of a receiving back. They kind of have featured Swift and Jamal Williams since they really don't have notable receivers.
No one's really stepped up to a number 1 for them.
So definitely got some deep flex consideration. On the Bears side, you're going to sit whoever's going to start at quarterback, whether it be Fields or Andy Dalton. And then you're going to start David Montgomery, start Allen Robinson. And even the Bears defense, they still have a great defense, even though the offense is complete shit.
And Lions D, it's I wouldn't start the Lions D just because they're not that good, even though the Browns' defense, I think, is a lot better. So,
100%.
Yeah.
But I think the Bears D against the Lions offense, even though I do have them winning the ball game, I think Jared Goff could have a couple turnovers in the ball game. But that's our first game different. I've got the Lions. Stein has the Bears. Very non-convincingly having the Bears. But
yeah, I'm kind of talking myself out of it.
Let's move on to our next game, which is the undefeated
good matchup here.
Yeah, the undefeated Panthers traveling to Jerry's World, facing off against the 2-1 Cowboys, coming off their Monday Night Football win against the Eagles. The Cowboys 4.5-point favorite in the ball game. And the big question for the Panthers is going to be how Darnold and company respond to the Christian McCaffrey injury, not having him for the full ball game.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, not placed on IR, but is dealing with a hamstring that's bothering him.
Yeah,
so
they're hoping that he'll be back within 3 weeks.
Yeah, but he won't be playing in this game, even though he's not going on IR.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting for them. Robbie Anderson has
been disappointment these first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, I think he had maybe one big catch in the beginning of the season.
It was week 1 against the Jets, his old team. They had that 57-yard touchdown, but really since then hasn't done anything. He's only had 11 targets through 3 games compared to DJ Moore has had 31 targets. And just watching the Thursday Night Football game, every single time Darnold was drawn back to pass, it was DJ Moore, DJ Moore, DJ Moore.
Yeah.
But this is a guy, Robbie Anderson, 136 targets last season. So I think definitely could benefit from McCaffrey being injured just because McCaffrey was a wide receiver for this team. He was pretty much behind DJ Moore in terms of getting targets. So definitely the potential for Robbie Anderson to step up and kind of be the second passing option once again in this attack.
Yeah. Cowboys, let's move to the Cowboys side of the ball. The offense looked great against the Eagles. Just creative play calling, moving the ball around, vintage Zeke.
I would say Zeke, everyone was worried from a couple weeks ago, Tony Pollard having that 100-yard rushing game.
Yeah.
I think they're still trying to kind of figure out how to divvy up the carries between the two guys, but it could definitely benefit Zeke long term in terms of just staying fresher throughout the season, getting some less touches.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of contributing, and that Chargers loss was a little bit of not the Chargers loss, the Bucs lost, excuse me, did beat the Chargers. That was just a better team than them, but they're still a talented team, and we're kind of seeing that right now. Defensive player Trayvon Diggs, NFC Defensive Player of the Month right now, with 6 pass deflections and 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. Just guy looking great on defense for a defense that's hasn't been known to be very good.
I was going to say, usually a very poor defense, but with Dan Quinn there now, it seems like they've kind of started to turn it around a little bit. I wouldn't say they're a great defense, but definitely better than in years past, getting closer to more of an average defense.
Yeah, but with this Cowboys team, it's all going to be about their offense, and everything has just kind of seemed to be working well, especially in that Monday night game. That was just a great performance from them. So that's why, I kind of like their offense is stronger than the Panthers' offense, and that's why I kind of think they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially I think I probably would have gone with the Panthers if Christian McCaffrey was available. I think he's probably the biggest difference in choosing who's going to win this ball game. I think Christian McCaffrey. I think that's a huge advantage for Dallas, and just like you said, their offense definitely trumping the Panthers' offense, and I've picked the Cowboys for pretty much that same reason.
Yeah, this one could be a little bit higher scoring if like both defenses play like. The Panthers have a sneaky good defense, though, I will say.
In terms of fantasy, they've had like the second best defense so far this season.
Yeah, but Cowboys still have a really good offense. And, I like the Panthers being 3-0, but I don't see them going undefeated throughout the way. They got to lose eventually, and I think this is going to be their first one.
Yeah, so fantasy-wise, for the Panthers, I think Darnold is worthy of a stream, even without Christian McCaffrey.
He's still playing well.
Start Chuba Hubbard, who's going to be the starter in place of Christian McCaffrey just because of the volume. He's going to get the touches.
Offense is built around Christian McCaffrey, so Hubbard's going to hopefully...
You saw Mike Davis, how effective he was as the new starter for the Panthers last season. DJ Moore, I think you're going to start as well. Robbie Anderson, I think he's risky, but probably a flex play just because, like I said, without having Christian McCaffrey, I think he should at least get some more looks in this offense, but definitely risky because he's had the past 2 just like bad weeks, and then week 1 only having the 1 catch, but it happened to be for a touchdown. The Panthers defense also risky.
They've been good,
just because
but
they're facing the Cowboys
they've been
offense.
good, but they're facing a better offense than what the Panthers have previously faced. And then for the Cowboys, pretty much the business as usual. Business as usual with Dak and Zeke, CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper both are great weapons. Tony Pollard and Dalton Schultz are a little bit more risky options, just because those other guys are bigger.
Schultz had the 2 touchdowns on Monday Night Football, but don't expect him to have consistent, great fantasy days like that. Tony Pollard just being the running back 2 in this offense. I mean, he's going to get touches, but he's pretty much got to go to the house with the touches that he's got to be effective.
All right, the next game, the Colts versus the Dolphins, and this is the quintessential non-red zone game, I think.
Yeah, not a whole lot of weapons on the offensive side of the football for either of these teams. The Colts coming in at 0-3, Dolphins just 1-2 on the season.
Dolphins are favored, though, at 2 points.
Yeah, they are the home team in this game.
In Miami. So always nice to have a game in Miami. It's always nice and hot down there.
So for the Colts, probably the biggest benefit is Wentz didn't have a setback last week, even though they didn't end up getting a win. Wentz didn't re-sprain or aggravate.
I will say
either
this
of his
is for the
ankles.
Colts their most winnable game of their schedule thus far.
Yeah, so far they have the Jets and Jaguars looming, I believe, but definitely the most winnable game so far this season. Other injuries the Colts are dealing with because, I mean, it's the Colts. Of course, they're dealing with some injuries.
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor dealing with a knee injury. I think he should be out there on Sunday. They don't seem too concerned about it. Jack Doyle dealing with a back injury once again. I think he should be out there. And then Quinn Nelson dealing with the Carson Wentz injury, a sprained ankle.
It's like E.T., It's like whatever thing Elliott has, E.T. has. Whatever Wentz has, Nelson gets.
Yeah, but I think all 3 of those guys should end up being out there on Sunday. Marlon Mack and the Colts have mutually agreed to seek a trade. So, of course, Marlon Mack was the running back one a couple years ago, had the season-ending injury, didn't play at all last season.
Yeah.
So he was a healthy scratch, I believe, last week.
Yeah, with
so.
Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor taking over, makes sense.
It really does. There's really no role for him anymore in this offense. Jonathan Taylor's the lead back, Nyheim Hines the pass-catching back.
Yeah.
So, like I said, no role in this offense. So maybe can go to a team where he can actually get some more consistent touches.
Yep.
And then on the Dolphins side of the football, Jacoby Brissett will once again be leading the offense. Tua still dealing with his rib injury. Should have his full complement of skill players.
Waddle, Fuller, those guys.
Yeah, Devontae Parker, Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, all those guys should be out there for the Dolphins. Now, it's a great skill position wise. Not the
really.
best, but
yeah.
I'd say just a lot of kind of like average guys out there. But
and Gesicki really hasn't been as impressive as I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, he had the goose egg in the first week. Was good last week. I think he was actually leading the team in targets. Him and Waddle were both up there around. But
still,
they
didn't really wasn't amazing.
For this Dolphins offense, it's going to kind of be week by week to see who really the star of the show is receiving wise. But which brings us to our fantasy outlook for the Colts. Sit Carson Wentz, still dealing with the ankle injuries. Start Jonathan Taylor. You're going to start the Colts defense against Brissett and the Dolphins as well. And then Michael Pittman being the wide receiver one there, Nyheim Hines being the pass catching back, I think are both worthy of flex consideration.
Yeah, Pittman's definitely put himself in that receiver one role. So, but this is all going to be through Wentz. So it could really, he could get hurt and it could get ugly.
Yeah, we could see Jacob Eason out there.
Yeah. Dolphins defense, you could probably is a good stream if you need it. Their defense.
I think they're definitely worthy of consideration versus this Colts team.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing I would consider it startable. Everything else is a flex play. When you talk about Gaskin, the wide receivers, I think Waddle's the best option, but Will Fuller could have
his Will Fuller game, touchdown, which happens every year, but it's only one game.
And then also Devontae Parker, probably worthy of a flex, a deeper flex, but not as confident in that.
Yeah.
And then Mike Gesicki, like I said, just having the good game last week, but very volatile, so I would consider him a risky flex play.
Yeah, and Roach, you picked the Colts, I picked the Dolphins. I feel like I need to justify myself, and it's really no X's and O's about this. It's literally, I just think the Colts are unlucky, and they're just going to go they're just going to just keep going, losing games.
The reason I picked the Colts is just because they had such a gauntlet these first couple weeks of the season. Yeah, they do have some injuries on the offensive side of the football, but just with this Dolphins team, with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, I'm not confident with them offensively. I think if the Dolphins do end up winning this game, it's definitely going to be on their defense. Carson Wentz making mistakes and throwing interceptions.
I will say I was impressed with the end of their game against the Raiders. How they were able to kind of amount a nice comeback and make it go to overtime.
I was just saying, they were even winning early on in the ball game, 14-0. So.
Yeah. And they just, Brissett left a lot on the field, and I think he's been pretty good. I won't say he's been like spectacular, starting worthy, but he's been good in relief duty, I would say.
Yeah, I think basically what it comes down to is it's going to probably be a last-second field goal, maybe another overtime game.
This game is pretty much a coin toss at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think definitely, like you said, a defensive battle, so probably go for the under if you had to bet on one of the two in this ball game.
All right, next game, the Battle of the North, I would say. You got the Browns taking on the Vikings in Minnesota. This one is pretty interesting because the Vikings aren't as bad, but the Browns have been a steamroller lately.
Yeah, so the Browns 2-1 on the season, Vikings 1-2. This is probably going to be the opposite of the last game we talked about. Very high scoring. Kirk Cousins has been great for the Vikings in this whole offense this past season. Dalvin Cook should be back on the field this upcoming week after Madison filled in nicely for him.
A lot of news about him, around Dalvin.
Yeah, he's put in a couple of limited practices this week, so he's on track to return. On the Browns side, you saw a lot of Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb last week, Odell Beckham returning, having a decent game.
Yeah.
So just two great offenses, and then the Browns defense once again feasting all day against that Bears offensive line. A much better offensive line for the Vikings and a much better offense for the Vikings, so definitely a tougher test for the Bears defense.
I mean the Browns defense.
Or Browns defense.
They played the Bears last week, but I think the Browns are looking like one of the most complete teams. I mean, up there with the Bills right now and the Bucs and the Rams and those guys. So just because they're such a complete team, I see them taking this one because they're kind of putting their defense together with their offense. And I mean, their offense is going to be led not through Baker, but through Chunt, of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And that's kind of what they're going to want to control the clock again. And they're really not going to have to pass a whole bunch like we said last week.
Yeah, this one I kind of went back and forth on because, the Vikings coming off of that big first win of the season against the Seahawks really have been in all three of their games so far this season. So
yeah,
I thought maybe they could keep the ball rolling.
Vikings offensively have been good, and especially Kurt's definitely been underrated. Justin Jefferson combined with Osborne coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, Adam Thielen being great. Conklin had
a good game last week. So, it could. And I even forgot Thielen is always a factor.
Yeah,
so
he's had a touchdown I think every single week this season.
Yeah,
so.
Which leads right into our fantasy aspect. Baker is a little bit of a risky play because this is a run-first offense.
Yeah, I think Baker pretty much just about every game this season will be super flex. I wouldn't consider him a starter in just a 1 QB league just because of their run-first style of play. Yeah. And even if they're playing a team like the Texans or something like that, they're probably going to be running because they'll be up in the ball game. So I'm just not confident in him in 1 QB leagues, but definitely worthy of a super flex. Yeah. You're going to start Chubb, start Hunt, start Odell Beckham as the number 1 receiver in this offense.
Yep.
The Browns' D could be risky just against this high-powered Vikings offense.
Yeah, they're not going to have as good of a performance as last week. Definitely not with the 9 sacks.
Yeah, and then the tight ends are definitely risky. Hooper had a touchdown last week, but once again, it's kind of like which one is really going to perform.
Yeah.
So I would say that Hooper is your best bet in terms of tight ends, but all three could
Always
be...
got to plug our boy Austin Bryant.
Harrison Bryant.
Wow.
Your boy doesn't even know
Austin
his
Bryant.
name.
I'm thinking of a freaking offensive tackle for the freaking Clemson Tigers. Wow.
But on the Vikings side of the football, I think Cousins is worthy of a stream. Had the great first 3 weeks. Definitely a tougher defense against the Browns, but like I said, high-scoring game, should get some fantasy points. Dalvin should be out there, so you should be starting him.
If not, Madison.
Yeah.
Filled right in perfectly.
Yeah, plug and play. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, you're going to start both those guys. And then whoever ends up being the third pass-catching option between Osborne and Conklin would be worthy of a flex, but it's risky to say which one of those it would be. Osborne was the big guy the first 2 weeks. Conklin was the big one last week, so pick your poison in terms of which one you think is going to have the better game.
Yeah, and we both picked the Browns in this one, even though it looks a little bit closer.
I think it should be a good game. Should be a close game throughout.
Yep. All right, moving on to weird matchup. Just kind of two derpy teams, I would say.
Yeah, the winless Giants against the 2-1 Saints. Saints coming in as a 7-point favorite at home.
This is their first game back in the new Caesars Superdome.
Yeah,
not
new
the Mercedes-Benz
sponsor.
anymore.
There's only one.
First home game. Because as everyone remembers, their first game was in Jacksonville. So, then they back-to-back road games for them. And so now they are going to be having their home game. And you're just not beating the Saints in their first home game after a hurricane, after a natural disaster. Poor Giants.
We mentioned the Saints as being kind of like a roller coaster team. You don't really know which team you're going to get from week to week. But playing against the winless Giants, I think, is a great matchup for them to be on the high of their roller coaster.
Yeah.
The Giants also dealing with injuries on the offensive side of the football like they have all season. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton both left last week's game with hamstring injuries. They haven't practiced all week, so it'll probably be a miracle if either one of them is out there. So the wide receiver core is probably going to be a banged-up Kenny Golladay, who's been battling a hip issue all preseason and throughout this season. Colin Johnson, who they signed right before the start of the season, and then the rookie Kadarius Toney, who had -2 passing yards the first 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, who's definitely become a meme for some people, especially for those Georgia fans. But we love this Saints team because it is looking like the roller coaster team of the NFC. 1 week they're good, 1 week they're awful. But the fact they're facing 0-3 Giants, a Giants team that really, I think, has nothing trending in their right direction.
Yeah, pretty much the only thing is Saquon getting healthier and healthier with each passing week, not having any sort of setback in his play. So looking at fantasy-wise, start Saquon. He's going to be the focal point of the offense. Flex Kenny Golladay just because he's the number one receiver, even though he's battling injury. Danny Dimes, Kadarius Toney, I think are both risky. The Saints' defense has been great so far this season, so Danny Dimes, even with the rushing ability, is definitely a risky play. And then Kadarius Toney, even though he'll be the wide receiver too, he hasn't shown much so far this season.
Stream Jameis because we're not like completely sold because his pass attempts have been down.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't had any sort of big like passing yard game. Hasn't had 50 pass attempts in a ball game, but he has been getting touchdowns, so definitely worthy of a stream against the Giants defense. But definitely going to be starting Alvin Kamara. He should have a great ball game. The Saints defense as well against the Giants. And Marquez Callaway saw him get his first touchdown.
His first, good game.
Yeah, last week. I think he's definitely risky just because, like we said, the passing attack just really hasn't been there these first 3 games for the Saints, even though they're 2-1 on the season.
Yep. All right, moving on to 2 NFC East teams who are going to get beat up probably.
As the next one faces an angry Kansas City Chiefs team, 1-2 on the season, last in the AFC West.
Yeah, this is the most angry they've ever been because now they're last place in their division.
Coming in as a 7-point favorite to the Philadelphia Eagles, 1-2 on the season as well.
Yeah.
This is going to be a get-right matchup for the Chiefs. So having the 2 losses in a row, they're definitely going to be looking to get back on track. And what better way than facing off against the NFC Beast, facing off against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Coming off not a great performance in Dallas.
Yeah, pretty much getting their asses kicked on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the best opponents the Chiefs could be facing right now.
Mm-hmm.
An arrogant team that just needs a little bit of humbling in the Eagles all the time.
Are you just saying that because they beat the Falcons week 1?
Well, they're always arrogant, you know these Eagles fans.
Yeah, so on the Eagles side of the football, their offensive line is just a complete mess right now. Their left guard, Isaac Siamalo, is out for the season with that Linsfranc foot injury.
He's the guy with the huge hair, right? I'm pretty sure.
I'm not 100%
with the last name like Siamalo, that's definitely a Polynesian guy.
And then also on the offensive line, you got your left tackle Jordan Mailata and right guard Brandon Brooks. Both missed week 3, looking like they're not going to be out there for week 4. So Jalen Hurts better have your running shoes on.
Yeah, and I hate to say this for Jalen because he had good first 2 weeks. Last week wasn't very good, and this week is not going to be very good either. And it's going to suck because Eagles fans are probably going to be starting to clamor for his head after this one.
Start clamoring for Nick Sirianni to be gone after 4 games.
Oh God,
also.
you know it.
But for the Chiefs side, having the 4 turnovers last week, definitely going to be looking to turn that around and just have a cleaner football game.
Andy Reid going to the hospital. Just everyone's going to want to like tighten it up. I'm sure it's been an emotional week for them. Mm-hmm. And this is an opponent that they're going to want to kick the stuffing out of.
And
I love that word.
And they probably will. As we look in the fantasy outlook for the Chiefs, usual suspects, start Mahomes, start Clyde Edwards-Helaire, had a great game last week.
Well, I wouldn't say Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the usual suspect, but you weren't high on him the first few times.
Well, usual suspects in terms of Mahomes, Tyreek, Travis Kelce, but I'll throw Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there.
Throw him a bone.
Since they're playing the Eagles, should be winning in this ball game. He did have a 100-yard game last week. And then start the Chiefs' defense as well against this Eagles offense. For the Eagles, you're going to start Jalen Hurts just because of his rushing ability.
Oh, gosh, I don't know if that's...
Dude, he's been the QB5 so far in fantasy season.
Even after a bad performance in Dallas.
I was going to say, which I did not realize. So
Daniel Jones is up there too.
Yeah, you got to hope that he gets some garbage time touchdowns like he did in that Cowboys game as well.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith flex both of them as the running back one, wide
Everyone
receiver
wants to
one.
make Sanders so good, but I really think
I've never been high on him in fantasy, but like I said, being the running back one, he does get a little bit of receiving work as well, so I would give him a flex consideration. Dallas Goedert's risky. Really, just Ertz had a good game last week, had a touchdown, so it's whatever tight end gets into the end zone, and if they even have a passing touchdown. So I think Goddard is definitely a risky play, but with the tight end position being so shallow, might have to start him if you have no better options.
Yep. All right, moving into the 4 o'clock slate, same as last week, right?
It's the 2-4-05, 2-4-25.
Which I'm not a big fan of, but
I guess that's the new the new norm for this season.
Yeah, and what I assume is probably America's game of the week. Cardinals at Rams.
Yeah, Rams getting two tough matchups.
Two undefeated teams face each other. This one's going to be exciting. This one's going to be two MVP candidates right now going against each other, and Stafford versus Kyler. Just going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the battle for first place in the NFC West, shall we say in back-to-back weeks, could be a potential NFC championship game preview.
Yeah, or just any kind of playoff game with these guys.
Yeah, you got two high-powered offenses, two great defenses as well, so one of them has got to give on each side. For the Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins played through a rib injury last week, only had 3 catches for 21 yards, so hopefully we might see a little bit more of him. The Cardinals, to win this football game, will probably need a little bit more of him since they aren't playing the Jaguars this week.
We did see them struggle with the Jags, with last week, and kind of, came out of there towards the end, kind of finished it up. But they've also been passing it around a little bit more, not just to D-Hop.
Christian Kirk, A.J. Green both had good games. Max Williams had a good game as well. So Rondale Moore also there. They have all sorts of weapons for Kyler to choose from. So if DeAndre Hopkins still not at 100% going into this game, definitely going to need a couple of those guys to step up in the ball game.
Yeah.
For the Rams side, you got Cooper Kupp winning the Offensive Player of the Month award for the NFC, leading the league right now, 25 receptions, 367 yards, 5 touchdowns. We talked about the great connection and the great chemistry that he's had with Matthew Stafford so far this season, and he's probably going to need to have another great game for them to get the victory against the Cardinals.
Yeah, they're going to have their hands full, that Cardinals defense with Cooper Kupp. Also, Robert Woods, don't discount him. Van Jefferson, just those guys.
Once again, just like the Cardinals, they have so many weapons on this team.
Deshaun Jackson.
Tyler Higbee. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson could have a 75-yard touchdown in the blink of an eye. So.
Yeah, I guess the only thing on that offense really is their running backs situation.
So Darrell Henderson has been battling a rib injury. He practiced on Wednesday. Probably a good chance to play on Sunday. Definitely going to be questionable going into that game. You saw Sony Michel get 20 carries in his absence last week, so if he's not able to go, Sony Michel could be a nice plug-and-play option, which leads us to our fantasy outlook for the Cardinals. This is going to be a long one, so you're going to start Kyler, you'll start Chase Edmonds, start DeAndre Hopkins, even at less than 100%, and I would say start Christian Kirk. Probably sit the defense, probably sit both defenses in this ball game.
Yeah, this one could get up there.
I like offense always trumping defense. Flex A.J. Green, James Conner, 2 touchdowns last week. Maybe some deep flex appeal if he can get into the end zone. He's kind of been the goal line back for them.
Yeah.
Max Williams, Rondale Moore, all those guys are kind of risky, so maybe flex.
You know how many people we talked about? Yeah, so that just shows that there's not going to be a single guy that they're going to be passing to.
Yeah, definitely the safest guys are going to be Kyler, going to be DeAndre Hopkins, going to be Chase Edmonds, and then I'd say Christian Kirk is probably the second best pass catching option.
Yeah. Rams side of the ball, I mean, the Stafford Cup connection has just been working. Keep with those guys. Darrell Henderson as the lead back. You gotta stay with him.
If he's active, you got to play him. If not, I would say Michelle has some some flex appeal. It doesn't do much in the pass catching game, so definitely going to need him to get a rushing touchdown to have a good week.
Yeah, Higbee's been pretty good as well. But Robert Woods is the second best pass catcher, so he's definitely some flex appeal there.
Yeah, I downgrade him from a starter to a flex just because
with the emergence of Kupp.
He's been eating up all the target share, so but still startable for Robert Woods. Yeah. And then once again, the Rams defense, even though they are an elite defense, facing a top offense in the Cardinals, I would sit them if you can, pick up a defense that's playing against one of the winless teams.
No, that already happened. But yeah, me and Roach both picked the Rams. I think I picked the Rams mostly because I think they have the better defense overall. And I think this game is going to be high scoring, but I think their defense will be able to get a stop at the end.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of going on recency bias. You see the Rams last week having that big win where they really controlled just about the whole ball game against the Buccaneers. And then you have the Cardinals who struggled in the first half against the Jaguars team, ended up getting a double-digit victory.
Back-to-back home games in the SoFi Stadium, which a lot of people are saying that that's become the new cathedral of football. But so that's going to be good for them. And it's also become like a star watching spot,
Mm-hmm. But anyways, we both got the Rams in this ball game, but should be the game of the week.
Yes.
Let's hop into
another NFC West.
I was going to say
battle.
The other two teams from this division. Got the 1-2 Seahawks playing against the 2-1 49ers.
Yeah, this is like the 1A and 1A and like 1B events.
Hey, I'll take this. I mean, this is the best division in football. Having both these teams, or all four of these teams, play during the 4:05 window should be two great matchups. The 49ers come in as a 3-point favorite at home. On the Seahawks side of the football, you got your starting tight end Gerald Everett on the COVID list. Probably not going to get activated in time for Sunday's game.
Yeah, too many hoops.
Yeah, he's been decent. He had 5 catches for 44 yards last week. He had a touchdown in week 1, so definitely filling in his role as kind of like the third pass-catching option for this team. So definitely going to see more Will Dissly in this ball game. And then Tyler Lockett, who went down with the injury late in the game last week against the Vikings, didn't practice on Thursday. I'd say he's questionable for this game. It doesn't seem like they're too worried he's not going to be out there. Yeah. He did avoid a major injury, so we'll see if he ends up being out there. But definitely a huge boost to DK Metcalf fantasy owners if Lockett can't play.
Yeah, you know how boom or bust either of those guys can be. Speaking of injuries, though, the 49ers just in general, that's them.
Kind of like the Colts. It's the same thing for the 49ers, just going back to last season. Elijah Mitchell been dealing with that shoulder injury he missed last week. He's been limited this week. Shanahan said that his availability is, quote, in limbo. So I would say probably leaning he's Trey on the wrong side of questionable.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a Trey Sermon ball game. Kyle Juszczyk as like the second running back instead of a fullback.
I don't know if anyone has a fullback league, but
I mean, you can play Juszczyk as a running back.
But you know, obviously that's not a start ever.
Yeah, and then George Kittle dealing with a calf injury. They kind of played it off as it not being a big deal, but he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah,
so now Shanahan
practice is missed.
Yeah, Shanahan is now saying that he's not guaranteed to play in this ball game. So as someone that traded away George Kittle in a league this past week, actually got Travis Kelce, I'm happy that I kind of traded him away this week. He's looking once again kind of like Mitchell on the wrong side of questionable.
Yeah, and you know, that's like Shanahan's like MO is these really cryptic like descriptions of guys being injured. So it's probably better to be safe than sorry with Kittle. And, you know, I'm not saying that I think Jimmy Garoppolo is bad, but it's just he's just so average all the time, you know?
Yeah, we've said how he hasn't done anything to lose his job, but really hasn't done anything to make
prove
it
like himself.
Yeah, to get himself a longer leash. Yeah. So we both have the Seahawks winning this ball game, even though the 49ers are the favorite. I think we, just like you said, just the injuries on the offensive side of the football for the 49ers, having Jimmy G as their quarterback. Definitely the Seahawks have the better offense, and I would say maybe a slight edge to the 49ers on the defensive side, but even kind of comparable defenses. Yeah, they still have some names
the 49ers still have some names on defense. Fantasy-wise, you know, Russ, Carson, and then, you know, depending on Lockett's availability.
If Lockett plays, you're going to start him.
Yeah, but if he's not, DK is going to be the start of one of the starts of the week.
Yeah, you're going to play DK even if Lockett's out there.
Yeah.
And then Will Dissly, just because he'd be kind of the third pass-catching option since Gerald Everett would be out. Definitely some deep appeal. Probably more of like a DFS type thing. Get him as a cheap tight end option for your lineup, but definitely has some appeal there.
Niners-wise, we're still not comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo as a complete, you know, number one starter.
Yep, super flex.
But Debo has been pretty good, so definitely a receiving option. If Kittle's healthy, you got to take Kittle. You know, he's one of your better guys.
Elite tight end option if he's out there.
Running back wise, I'm not sure completely.
If Mitchell's inactive, then you're definitely going to flex Trey Sermon. But if Mitchell ends up being active in the game, it kind of really muddies the waters in terms of how they're going to split up the running back role.
Yeah, but
so I would say if Sermon is the only starter out there, I would give him a flex shot. If Mitchell is healthy too, I would probably downgrade Sermon to probably not play him unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And then Brandon Ayuk has kind of been on a uphill climb these past couple weeks. Been out there been more
Finally
effective.
Got a touchdown though. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say give him a flex look this upcoming week.
Yep. All right, the 4:25 games. The Ravens at the Broncos. 2-1 Ravens taking on the undefeated Broncos at an even line.
Yeah, it opened up. The Broncos were like a 1-point favorite, and then it is now at even on Friday. So definitely an even matchup between these two teams.
Yep.
The Broncos finally facing a team that has a win so far this season, even though they're 3-0, haven't played anyone.
The memes have been funny about the Broncos.
Haven't played anyone good. The Ravens coming off of the game-winning, record-setting field goal from Justin Tucker. So should be a great matchup On the Ravens side of the football, you got Lamar dealing with a back injury. Didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday.
I've been getting news about Lamar all week.
He was back at practice today on Friday, so I think he should be good to go for Sunday. Friday's always kind of like the big deal. It's like if you can at least get out there and have a limited participation.
Get the walkthrough, right? You know.
Definitely. So he should be out there on Sunday, and you can keep him in your starting lineups.
Yeah.
For the Broncos, Von Miller, AFC Defensive Player of the Month.
Which is awesome because everyone's kind of forgot about Von Miller.
Yeah, I mean, he had the season-ending injury last season, so he wasn't out there. Everyone kind of questioning. He's getting up there in age, so it's like, how effective is he really going to be? 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss so far in that first month of the season, so definitely well-desered for him.
Leading a pretty good Broncos defense. Not elite, but pretty good. Overall, though, I think this is... I mean, honestly, you could say this is an even matchup because the Ravens, we saw them struggle with the Lions. We saw what Hollywood Brown failed to do.
Yeah.
We saw them fail to establish that run game. And Lamar, hasn't been super spectacular thus far.
Yeah.
And then on the Broncos side of the ball, their offense, is...
I mean, once again, they've been playing bad defenses, playing bad teams, so definitely going to look better against those. So the biggest question for the Broncos is how are they going to perform versus a much better opponent in the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and the Ravens have a good defense for a Broncos offense that, I love Teddy Two Gloves, but really, Courtland Sutton is the only guy he's really got to be passing to
He's got Courtland Sutton, he's got Tim Patrick and Noah Fant, and that's he's lost 2 wide receivers so far this season.
Melvin Gordon, I will say, has been pretty good at a running back, though. But
Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams.
He's not the same running back Melvin Gordon from 3 years ago.
It's kind of like for the Falcons with Mike Davis, Cordell Patterson. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon have combined to make a great running back. If it was just one person.
Yeah, put their skills together. Fantasy-wise, got to stick with Lamar. Mark Andrews has been consistent.
Yeah, had a good game last week.
Hopefully, Hollywood Brown will finally be able to put his woes away.
I would say if he can catch the football, he would have 3 touchdowns last week. So as long as he does his job as a wide receiver,
he's definitely emerged as their wide receiver one, bar none.
Should be getting some of their receivers back in the coming weeks. Miles Boykin and Rashad Bateman
will be coming back. Tyson Williams, we saw that they haven't been super able to establish the run yet. So, him and Latavius are just risky.
Yeah, he's risky. If he gets the carries, he's shown that he's been very effective with the opportunities he's gotten. It's just a matter of getting that volume, so I think he's risky. But once he starts getting consistent touches, then he'll be
I also like
startable.
The Ravens D in this game as his potential start.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stein. Just the Broncos offense, once again, hasn't been really spectacular.
Hasn't been tested.
And hasn't been tested. So on the Broncos side, start Noah Fant at tight end. Start Courtland Sutton as the wide receiver 1. Give those running backs with Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams a flex consideration. And then Tim Patrick, also flex consideration. Teddy, I think, is risky in this one just because facing off against a good Ravens defense. He hasn't seen a good defense yet this season, so definitely a risky play. And Stein, looks like you got the Broncos in this game. I've got the Ravens winning this ball game.
I feel like the Ravens have had, been very lucky in 2 games against the Chiefs.
hitting a record-setting field goal to win a ball game.
By all regards, should have lost to the Chiefs. Yeah. This should be a 1-2 Ravens team, not a 2-1. You can make that argument. So the Broncos, I want to see them ride this wave of momentum. I like both of these teams. I really like the Ravens and I really like the Broncos. I hate that they have to face each other.
You got to pick a winner.
But I like to see the memes and I want to see the Broncos go 4-0.
Okay. Yeah, I picked the Ravens just because we haven't seen the Broncos be battle tested yet this season. Like I said, first time facing a team with a win, so I've got the Ravens riding off their victory last
pick of the
week. Yeah. Could be my Jaguars pick from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, this could be my backfire. I'm like, why did I fall in love with a 3-0 team?
But let's move on to the other game in the 425 slate.
A rematch of Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to guess.
I was gonna say, yeah, good
luck.
It
was a Super Bowl, though.
Numbers.
Maybe 47.
You got the
While
one.
You talk about them. I'll look.
You got the 1-2 Steelers facing off against the 2-1 Packers. Packers at home, going to be a 6.5-point favorite. Wide receiver core for the Steelers is banged up, but it looks like they should all be active for this ball game. You got Deontay Johnson missing last week with a knee injury. Juju got hurt last week with a rib injury against the Bengals, and then Chase Claypool got a little banged up last week as well with a hamstring injury, but those injuries all should be okay for them to play, even if they're at less than 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, it was Super Bowl 45, by the way.
45, okay.
Yes. But the thing about this game is Ben Roethlisberger, who's just passing way too much.
Yeah, I mean, 58 pass attempts last week for 300
he hasn't
yards.
Looked good at all.
We've mentioned how bad he's looked so far this season, so hopefully having his full complement of wide receivers will help out that offense.
Yeah.
A Packers defense that has been decent so far this season. A big help on the Steelers defensive side. They're going to get TJ Watt back this week.
Yeah,
he's been practicing all week
after losing their sack streak.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to want to get it back, or at least start a new streak, I guess. But it's an afternoon game in Lambeau. It's going to get, the leaves are coming off the trees. It's going to be a little bit chilly. Mm-hmm. This is football weather, but I think the Packers are, it's hard to beat the Packers at Lambeau, especially after the wave that they've been riding coming into this one.
And once again, it's two teams going in opposite directions.
Yeah,
you see the Steelers winning week 1 against the Bills, losing these past 2 weeks. The Packers getting basically shut out in week 1 against the Saints, and then having 2 good weeks the past 2 weeks. Of course, Aaron Rodgers having that great drive at the very end of the game, Sunday Night Football against the 49ers.
Yep.
Continuing to make that week 1 kind of seem like an outlier for them. So I think we both have the Packers winning this ball game just because of the directions of both these football teams at the moment.
Yeah, and I don't think the Packers defense is that good, but the Steelers offensive line has just been playing that bad. So they'll be able to have their time.
So fantasy-wise, just with how Big Ben's been looking, you can't start him. You can start Najee just because of the volume he's been getting.
Yeah, the amount of targets he got.
Start the wide receivers just because Big Ben should probably be throwing the ball a bunch again since they'll be trailing in this ball game. So Claypool's definitely the most boom-bust just with being the deep threat guy, but Deontay and Juju should be getting peppered with targets underneath. The Steelers' defense risky in this ballgame, facing off against Aaron Rodgers. Could have another great week. So the Steelers' defense, even with getting TJ Watt back, could be a risky play.
I mean, Watt adds a lot, but he's not going to make it night and day for them.
And then on the Packers side, you're going to start Rodgers. You're going to start Aaron Jones, start Devontae Adams. Robert Tonyan, who has had 2 bad weeks, just the 1 touchdown in week 2 so far this season, is definitely a risky play at the tight end position. Had just 1 target last week for 6 yards.
Take your time on him until he proves otherwise with Robert Tonyan.
Yeah.
But Packers-wise, it's the usual suspects.
Yep. So let's move on to our Sunday night game, and what a Sunday night game we've got.
Yes.
The 2-1 Buccaneers, Tom Brady, traveling back to the old stomping grounds in Foxborough, facing off against the 1-2 Patriots and his old head coach Bill Belichick.
Yeah, this game in March or wherever the schedule, April, whenever the schedule came out, this was the one that everyone circled.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that everyone wants to see, and I probably will watch it as much as I don't like.
And then to add another headline to it, Brady just needs 68 pass yards to pass Drew Brees as the NFL's all-time leading passer.
It took him 45 freaking years, or 44, however old he is. It's a lot of great stories, and I know it's pretty cliche to just hate on Brady, but you really got to respect this game, and I got to imagine it's going to be a very warm reception for Brady, and I don't say that sarcastically. I actually think it's going to be, this guy did a lot.
It seems like a lot of Patriots fans are kind of Buck fans is like their second team, just more like cheering for Brady.
They're Brady's fans, let's be honest.
Exactly. But it's like they'll cheer for the Bucs' success because it means Brady's been successful.
It means just to hedge Brady's record.
Yeah, so I think definitely.
But there is
like a nice
little
reception.
There's a little section of Pats fans that are like, no, it's been Belichick who's been the successful guy, not Brady.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be a couple boos, but I think they'll be drowned out by mostly cheers.
Yeah,
overall.
And there's gonna be tears probably. There's going to be helmets taken off, by and waves to the crowd. Mm-hmm. They're just going to be stroking everything, But
anyways, let's get to some of the other players besides Tom Brady. As one of the other guys who's got a homecoming, Rob Gronkowski, dealing with the rib injury from last week. He practiced on Friday after not practicing on Wednesday or Thursday, so it looks like he'll be out there on Sunday. Like I said, a homecoming for him, so probably wants to be active and be able to play in that ball game.
Yeah.
And Antonio Brown activated off the COVID list. He'll be back. They'll have pretty much their full weapons at Tom Brady's disposal. Gio Bernard is dealing with a knee injury, but I don't think they'll really need their pass catching back in this ball game.
No, I mean, the running game wasn't very effective last week, but you could see them kind of going back to it with Leonard and Ronald Jones this week. But definitely kind of two teams in opposite directions. That's kind of the trend of today.
Yeah.
The Patriots kind of coming off not a very good showing against the Saints, going against the Bucs, who, yeah, they struggled against the Rams, but I mean, this could be a get-right game for them.
Yeah, Bucs defense signing 33-year-old Richard Sherman to a one-year deal. Jamel Dean dealing with a knee injury. They've had injuries all over their secondary, so
we're returning all starters.
Maybe see Mac Jones try and take advantage of that weaker secondary for the Bucs, but he won't have his pass-catching back, James White. Originally supposed to be kind of more of a 6 to 8 week timetable. He's actually out for the season with that hip injury.
Yeah,
so
that's a big blow for them.
Yeah, look for Brandon Bolden, J.J. Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson, their rookie, all options to kind of back up Damian Harris as the second running back in this offense. But like you said, Stein, just two teams kind of going in opposite directions. I think just the biggest headline will be Brady returning, but in terms of the score, it should be the Bucs easy in this one.
Yeah, and this is going to be one of those games where, at the end, it's going to be a lot of cameras on everything, and the Brady Belichick handshake and the Brady Mac handshake, because they're going to be like, is he passing the torch?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So it's only fitting for this game to be on prime time, but fantasy wise, you're going to start Brady, start all those wide receivers, Evans, Godwin, AB. You're going to start Gronk looking like going to be active, and start the Bucs defense against Mac Jones in that Patriots offense.
Yeah, they struggled last week.
And then the running backs are kind of risky. I would say Fournette is definitely a better option than Ronald Jones, but both of them I would try and avoid if you can.
I'm kind of confused on what they're trying to do with their running backs there. Patriots-wise, because James White is out, that kind of brings Damian Harris's value a little bit higher.
Yeah, could get more of a pass-catching role there, so I would flex him. The two wide receivers, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, should be throwing a lot in this ball game, so definitely flex consideration for those two. Sit Max, sit the Pats D, even though they've been great this season against this Buccaneers offense.
Yeah.
And then the tight ends, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, both risky because they're both kind of taking away from the value of one another fantasy-wise.
Yeah, they're eating into each other. And real quickly, I know we both have the Bucs, but I want to see Mac do good, but this is just going to be back-to-back struggles because this is kind of like a harder part of their schedule.
Yeah, definitely some growing pains for these past 2 weeks for Mac Jones.
If he struggles, it's not going to be a sign that that's going to be what's going to be going on.
Not at all.
Yes.
Don't be worried about it. But...
All right, our last game that we have different.
Yeah, we got the Monday Night Football game, a battle of the AFC West. You got the undefeated 3-0 Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. Got to get used to saying that.
We can still pretend.
Against the Los Angeles Chargers, another team that's moved recently. They're 2-1 on the season, coming off the victory against the divisional opponent, Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chargers are a 3-point favorite at home. So Raiders kind of a surprising 3-0 team so far this season.
Similar to the Broncos.
Yeah, Derek Carr's had a great first month of the season, good enough to get him the AFC Offensive Player of the Month, leading the league with over 1,200 passing yards. So
yes.
He'll have a tough matchup against a Chargers defense that has been performing very well. Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. in that secondary, Joey Bosa up front.
Yeah, we talked about last show how we were going to do kind of quarter season grades, and that'll be on our next show, our recap show. Mm-hmm. But really, Asante Samuel right now is kind of looking as defensive rookie of the year.
I think he was the defensive player of the month or defensive rookie of the month.
Yeah, there's so many accolades, but the Chargers are looking good. But I also want to say the Raiders are looking good too, and I think that's going to start with Derek.
I was going to say, we mentioned Derek Carr might have Josh Jacobs back. He was a limited participant in practice on Thursday.
Yeah.
Does have that extra day to get out there for Monday Night Football. Peyton Barber had a 100-yard game on the ground last week.
He filled in quite nicely.
So even if Josh Jacobs isn't out there, expect him to be the lead back, even though, once again, we talked about the questionable signing of Kenyon Drake in the offseason.
Yeah, it's like they're not even using him. They like their SEC running backs with Peyton and Jacobs, and poor Drake, another SEC running back.
I was going to say another Alabama guy, but being left out, we thought he was going to step up once Josh Jacobs got hurt. For the Chargers, like you said, they have had a great offensive and defensive showing. Just a great win against the Chiefs last week. The normal suspects getting it done.
Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, who's really jumped, who I think has jumped another step this year so far, has looked really good, in my opinion. Herbert hasn't lost a step. I know I predicted a sophomore slump. Still think that could happen.
Yeah.
But so far is looking great. Fantasy-wise, let's get into it a little bit. Raiders, you got to keep going with Carr because of the numbers he's putting right now.
Yeah, I picked him up in a league to start.
Yeah, I
him
mean, I'm
even
sure
against
some
the
people could
Chargers
maybe
defense.
even pick him up in like a 10 or something.
Yeah. Start Darren Waller, of course. He's going to be the number one receiving option for this team.
Yeah.
Hunter Renfro's been doing good enough to, I think, get some flex consideration, getting a decent amount of targets out of the slot position.
Yep.
Start the starting running, or whoever the starting running back is, Josh Jacobs or
Peyton
Barber. Put them in your flex. And then Henry Ruggs, if he doesn't get a long touchdown catch, he's definitely a risky play. So that boom bust in your flex could be a spot for him. But
yeah, Ruggs is like a 2 catches for like 70 yards kind of guy,
and a touchdown.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
On the Chargers side, like I said, normal suspects. Start Herbert, start Eckler, Mike Williams. Hopefully continue to have a great season. Keenan Allen, and then the tight end Jared Cook, probably the least confident guy in this offense to start, but tight end position, just hope he gets a touchdown.
Yeah. Now, this is a game that we do have different, and Roach has the Chargers, and I have the Raiders, kind of for the Broncos reasons. Like, I want to keep seeing these teams ride these waves, and I know the Chargers are playing well, too.
Yeah, I just think the Raiders are kind of not as much as the Broncos, but more of kind of like a quote-unquote fake 3-0 team right now.
Yeah.
The Chargers riding the high of coming off the victory against the Chiefs, who they always play well. I've got them, I mean, at home in this ball game, I've got them coming away with the victory. But I think this will be a close ball game.
Yeah, this will be a great matchup. It's also back-to-back home games for LA because you have Sunday's home game.
Yeah,
quick turnaround.
I'm glad I'm not part of the maintenance crew for that. It's got to spray paint the end zones
gotta
and
change
all that.
the field. I feel like there's not a lot of things to change, like in the stands or concessions.
Oh yeah, nothing
concourse.
like that probably.
Maybe there's decorations and stuff that they have to change, but I'm sure they have it figured out. But that's kind of cool that back-to-back home games, which I don't really think I've ever seen like the Jets or the Giants do because they're never on prime time.
Yeah, if they are, it's probably on like a Thursday night game.
And it's
then
not
they
that
have
much of a turnaround.
3 days to get to Sunday, but anyways, that's going to do it for our Week 4 slate. Once again, we got 4 games different, so we'll have our recap show next week, and we'll have our loser for Week 4, but that'll do it for this episode. Our Week 4 preview.
Yeah. Real quickly, guys, I want to end with a special segment that we didn't get to, but it's going to be Ben's college game of the week. Okay. I'm going to make this a reoccurring thing. It's basically I'm kind of give my favorite matchup of college football because Saturdays are also important too. Saturdays are for the boys.
Full weekend of football.
Saturdays are for the boys. We all know. And I mean, yeah, Georgia's playing Arkansas. Ole Miss is playing Alabama. Those are going to be some great games. Don't get me wrong. Georgia Tech plays Pitt. FSU plays
Syracuse.
Oh gosh,
looking for the first win of the season.
That could be rough. Syracuse is not bad.
Syracuse is not good.
They beat Liberty. But guys, my game of the week is going to be UConn at Vandy.
Oh man,
first one. Right now, I've seen tickets as low as $6 for that game. Yeah. If you're in the Nashville area and you have nothing else to do,
I don't think even Vandy or UConn fans want to go to this game just because like both teams are so laughably bad.
Should we bet on that game?
No, I'm not gonna bet on that game.
No, between you and I,
I don't. I mean, who
you
want to
put $5 on it?
Who do you want?
I'll take Vandy. You take UConn, or
I don't want UConn. I don't want either team. Can I bet on a tie?
No, okay. You take UConn. I'll take Vandy.
No, I'm not putting money on that. Why would I put money on that?
It's $5 between you and me. You know that $5 is going to come back to one of us.
No, I'm not doing it.
I will look for somebody to bet me on this game. But y'all, it's been a great show. We enjoy hanging out with you guys every Friday and every Monday when we record. But our episodes come out the next day, but it's always a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram at The Couch Quarterbacks for all the up-to-date information.
Yes. Also, stay tuned for a potential new logo.
Yes. We got some stuff behind the scenes that's in the works, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But anyways, that's going to do it for the Couch Quarterbacks podcast, and we will see you guys on the flip side.
Deuces.